everyone, and welcome back to Real Talk with Delphine. Last week you had a chance to talk with Nick about your automotive needs, but today we're really diving into some real estate stats and understanding what you should do if you're ready to buy a home and what is really out there today. So is it a good time to buy? Is it not? Is it a good time to sell? I'm not a lender, so I cannot talk to you about rates, but thankfully, I have the experts with me today. So welcome Lynn and Amber today from Geneva Financials. They are going to talk to us a little bit about the market, where we are today, and what you should do if you're looking for a home in this market. So Lynn, why don't you tell me a little bit more about yourself and introduce yourself?
Sure. And I'm Lynn Whipple with Geneva Financial, and I've been a lender for over 30 years, branch manager here currently in our Montrose office. And so yeah, I find lending very fascinating, helping them purchase their new home and achieve their goal of home ownership. So very exciting to work with our clients.
100%. And
Yeah.
I think we've seen a little bit of everybody hitting the brakes a little bit, and the luxury now of, as a realtor, I get to show homes a couple times. I get to show multiple homes, and I don't have to hold their hands and go to the signing table right away. And so it's been kind of nice. So tell me a little bit more about where we are in the market today.
Right.
And how we feel about the rates and what should we know?
Sure. Well, and I think what you were just saying there is, the market's slowed down just a little bit because of higher interest rates, but that is actually offered some opportunities now for the home buyers in this market. And there is a little more time to evaluate, to look at homes. And even though the higher interest rates do create a challenge, it also opens up some doors for opportunity. So that's what we're here to help our clients with, is help them, whether maybe it's needing to improve credit scores, looking at something a few months down the road, and so we're here to help them with that.
So tell me a little bit more about the last 20 years. If we look at rates over the last 20 years, are we really, really high? Like everybody is saying, oh my God, rates are so high right now. Can we just level the playing field a little bit and talk about data and where we currently are?
Sure. Well, and yes, rates right now are more of an average interest rate if you look back over the past 20 years or so. When we were having the interest rates, the very low historical interest rates, obviously, that was something that was an anomaly. And so with that, now it is looking at, okay, what do we need to do for that home buyer? Is it bringing up credit scores? Is it saving down payment? Is it improving their situation and helping them, again, in achieving home ownership?
Awesome. So Amber, how are you doing today?
Wonderful.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do with Geneva Financials?
So I'm Amber Clark with Geneva Home Loans, and I started in the mortgage industry with Lynn 5 years ago. Prior to that, I was in the automotive industry, so numbers have always been kind of
your thing. That's how we met, by the way. I was buying a car at Montrose Ford years ago, and I had just moved to Montrose. And that's how Amber and I met. So it's kind of funny to see where we are today and where we were back then. So it is super important. I really partner with the expert. Lynn and Amber are the expert in their field. It's so important to me to partner with the right people. I always tell my buyers when they tell me I'm not quite ready to look yet. Great, we're not gonna look, but you need to talk to a lender today. And so oftentimes I send them to you ladies to get started in the process. And correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes they have to work for a year before they're in the right place and in the right space to be able to buy. So as we look at our crystal ball and try to guess what's happening in the next year, if the rate is going to come down at any point, when you're prepared, when you're educated, when these ladies give you a call and say the rate just dropped and this is the time, if you really like that home, to move forward, you call me, we move forward. That's the way to go. The worst thing you can do is to go look at a house, fall in love with it, then meet with these ladies and they tell you, they break the news that you can't afford that house. That's heart shattering, and it makes the the process so much harder. So I really appreciate the partnership, because I know that sometimes we work with people for over a year and we create these amazing relationships, but really you guys are so key for us to be successful in what we do in the real estate market, but also for our buyers to feel like they're in the right hands and they know who they're working with. So,
well, and good information is knowledge. It's power in helping you determine how much house that you qualify for, what's affordable for you, and where you're going to be most comfortable. So we do want to have that budget in mind, and look at those numbers is extremely critical for the home buyer to know those figures.
So tell me a little bit more about the programs out there that are helping buyers to be able to afford homes. Because as we know, with the rates going up, we kind of have this line up here of where the houses are and what our buyers can afford. And there's kind of a gap, right, that we're trying to breach as an industry to see how can our buyers afford a home today. So what's the process when you help them? I know there are FHA assistance, there's down payment assistance, there's VA, and a lot of great programs.
Sure.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So we have Zero Down, which is USDA rural development. There's also, we have down payment assistance programs that go with the FHA loan. So it's actually, depending, there's a couple of different ways that we can structure that. We do have several options with the down payment assistance that can help the home buyer who really is needing to come in with a zero down payment. So that's a great way to get into a home. You know, we are hoping, and there is forecast for rates to improve at some point. We just don't know exactly when that's going to be. But we do, and again, there's forecasts for that. But with the appreciation continuing to increase of our homes here in our Montrose area, that means the value is going to continue to increase. So getting in now, and with the fact that the inventory is down right now, being the time of year, you know, we're kind of rolling into spring. So with that, and it's been historical every year, we usually see this happen where it's minimal on inventory during the winter, starts coming out because sellers are wanting to list their homes to sell during the summertime. So with that, as we start seeing that inventory coming out, there is that trend of a lot of times those prices start going up at the same time, a little bit. Now, the higher interest rates did help for as a market correction this last fall as the rates went up, and this winter, we did see, it seemed that sellers' homes were on the market a little longer.
Yes.
So that was a big, yes, because that really helped too as a market correction.
And I think it's really interesting to talk about a little longer, because I think we're very spoiled. Because if you look at the average for February, right now our month supply of inventory is 1.8 months. So when we say it's sitting a little longer, everybody has been really used to homes being under contract in 3 hours, and now we see it between 1 to 3 months, but on average it's less than 2 months still. So as a seller, it is still selling. Just understand that. And when we look at the list price and when it sells, we had about an adjustment here in Montrose. We're just looking at the numbers. Year to date, we're down about 7% from our listing price, which is not huge, and it's about a market adjustment versus a market crash, which is very different.
Yeah, we expect it to stay stable. And if anything, again, because now Montrose being a destination, you know, people really desire to live here for all our recreational opportunities and great lifestyle that we lead here as a small community. So with that, we do expect values to continue to increase. So it is really a good time for the buyers to try to get in, get pre-approved in this current market, so that opportunity of hopefully with home prices before, again, we see them go up as the busy time of the year comes around the corner pretty quick. And when interest rates, if they do come down in the near future, here in the next 6 months or so, then that's going to again cause another frenzy, buying frenzy.
So I was just at the realtor convention down in Denver and the Economical Summit, and they're looking at pregnancy test sales. and see how everybody is growing. They're growing their family.
Yes.
They're trying to get pregnant, and they're going to buy more homes.
Oh, yes.
And their prediction is that Q3 and Q4, specifically Q4, is when they're anticipating seeing those rate to drop. Of course, we look in our crystal balls and we hope for the best, data driven, and we really can pull the data from so many directions. I think it's always hard to kind of be able to give you guys the best advice, but it looks like most entities are really predicting Q3 and Q4 to have a drop in these rates.
Yes.
And that's, again, why you need to get started today with a lender, because when this comes around and you know the market, you know the houses out there, the ones that you want, you're ready to move forward when your rate drops. Keep that in mind. And I also wanted to talk a little bit more about relationships and how we build the relationships with our buyers and sellers. Mostly when I send people to you guys, it's buyers, but I have a great example. Amber and I were working with a client, and it took us over a year to work on credit, to work on affordability and exactly determining what they needed. But Amber was such a great guide, and I think that's what most buyers miss, is that unless they know what to do, they look on Google, they look online, they think they have to pay off a credit card, but sometimes it's not just paying off a credit card. It's much deeper than that. So come to the expert and make it easy, right? Because then you guys can really hold their hands through the process, improve their credit scores, and put them in a position where they can get the best rate possible out there. Am I right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. So tell me a little bit more about yourselves, because we talked a lot about these boring numbers and really, but I like these two ladies because they're very special to me, but they're also really cool. So if we talk about Lynn, who was on the cover of Montrose Living, she does something that I didn't even know you did this until we did this cover.
Yeah.
And tell me more. Tell me a little bit more about how you race.
Yes, I race sled dogs, and they are my furry companions. And we had a great winter. So I'm president of the Rocky Mountain Sled Dog Club here in Colorado. I've been racing sled dogs for, over 35 years. And it's just a lot of fun. The dogs, they give you so much unconditional love, and they're little athletes, and they keep me in shape. And
they want to work, right? Because everybody's always like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" But they want to work. They thrive.
They thrive on it. The dogs love a job. And the discipline of it, and it also, like I say, it's good for me and good for them, and we bond as a pack. So we had 4 races this winter and did really well.
Congratulations!
Yep.
That's
Took
exciting.
first place in 2 6-dog classes, and then second in a 4-dog. And
so if I want to get started in this, what do I do? Where do I start?
Well, you can contact me, either here at the office or through my email, through the Rocky Mountain Sled Dog Club. So it's rmsdc.org. We do offer clinics, and, we can help give some advice as to how to get started. 1 or 2 dogs can pull you on skis, on a fat bike, on a mountain bike. We have people that do scooters, and so that's dry land training. So it's a lot of fun.
Yes, I actually didn't know that you can do that with bikes in the summer.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Well, and we do it when it's cooler temperatures. So, the summertime is more their playtime, and, but when it's warmer. But yes, definitely during the shoulder seasons of fall and spring, that will have them pull us on a bike.
And then I think Amber has a son who does jiu-jitsu. Am I right?
He does.
Yes. How passionate is he about jiu-jitsu?
He's active in a lot of different things. Typically, you can find me on a baseball field or basketball court somewhere. He's a very active 12-year-old. Keeps me and my husband very busy.
That's awesome. I have one of those as well, so I can relate. Also, I took a shooting class with Amber. Tell me a little bit more about what Bobby does out there. And it was super fun. I have to tell you, I used to hold guns like this, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with them until I went to this class, and I already had my concealed to carry. But this was a different level for me, and I had so much fun doing it and sharing that with you. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think gun safety is very important for a lot of people, not to be fearful of them, but to know how to use them and handle them and educate everybody in your household I think is very important for anybody anymore.
Yes, I agree. I had a ton of fun, so I don't, what's Bobby's last name, tell me?
Baxter.
Yes, I'll give him a shout.
Billy Baxter.
I'll probably put in the comments later the link to take his classes. He does classes here and in Grand Junction, and it was phenomenal. I had so much fun.
Oh, good.
It was
does a
so
great
cool.
job.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I didn't think I could have so much fun with a gun.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it's protection, and it's a risk, and it's dangerous, but fun was not part of it with it too. I don't mind carrying. I was really nervous in the past to carry, and not anymore. I will say too, I learned that if you have a concealed carry and you give it to a cop when you get stopped, you don't get a ticket. It's true. Anyways, let's move on and go back a little bit on what you guys do best and how to contact you. Tell me more about where you're located. Why should we work with you?
Sure.
I know why. I'll say it's because I know I can trust you and you take fantastic care of my clients, but you're also very straightforward and honest on, no, you cannot afford this. I know this is what you want, but you can't go there.
Well, it's about running the numbers and, you know, getting qualified. So, and it is, again, what's affordable. So it's going over that because good information and knowledge is going to help you through that process and get you to where you want to be. So whether that's today or 6 months down the road, that's what we're here for, is to help you with that. And so good communication skills are very important, and working together on you know, how to structure the loan.
And back to education, because I do believe it's important to work with the expert. But look forward to get some articles in Montrose Living from Lynn, who's going to tell us more and educate us more locally on what we should be doing and what we should be looking for if we're looking for a home today.
Sure. We always have some new programs coming out and guidelines that we can update, and you know, things to help our first-time home buyers afford a home is really important in our market.
Yeah.
So we want to be here to help.
And then something else you need to know too is that in the last few years we haven't had an opportunity to have any sales concessions. And I love to educate people on sales concessions because most buyers don't know that they can ask for sales concessions and what are sales concessions. So why don't you define to me, like, what are sales concessions? How can we use them?
Yes.
And why is it back on the market?
Right. Well, so seller's concessions is truly a credit through closing that the seller is offering, and it's, you know, through the contract that it's written up. So it's defined of exactly what it's being applied towards. Primarily closing costs, prepaid items, which is taxes, insurance, and escrow. But also now in this higher interest rate market that we've been in, then it can also be helping that buyer to buy down the interest rate.
Correct.
So we can really utilize that to help that buyer, and we have like a 2-1 temporary buy down. With that is it's actually buying down the interest rate 2% for the first 12 months. That's really substantial.
Well,
And then,
especially if we think that Q4 is it might
Right.
drop and,
And
we can
then-
refinance.
Exactly.
That is huge, you guys, and that's why it's so important that you work with a realtor who has that information for you, because the realtor ultimately writes the contract and asks for the seller's concessions. And seller's concession now, if it's not in a contract in this type of market, as a buyer, you're missing out. So if you don't know about seller's concession, ask your real estate agent. It is really an
and your
opportunity.
lender. Yeah.
And your lender.
Right.
It is an amazing opportunity. Ask your lender what your options are, because you can ask $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, and it all depends on what are my rights. Because some of the, if I'm correct, some of the down payments can cap that seller's concessions as well.
Depends on the loan program and how much you're putting down. So it does vary. But yes, it's definitely a benefit for the buyer to be able to utilize seller credits in getting a lower interest rate and lower monthly payments. You know, for the first 12 months, we can do the temporary, and then there's, for the next, it's actually a total of 24 months for the 2-1 buy down. Then you have the 30-year fixed and or you refinance. So.
Yes, phenomenal things to know, right? If you're not in the know and you don't know about this, ask whomever you're working with, because this is where it's at.
Right. Well, because a lot of times people are like, I didn't know where to start, I didn't know what I could afford, and so that not knowing holds you back. And if you can just, reach out, we're happy to meet with you and go over those numbers and figure out, what will work, how to get you there.
Well, and oftentimes people will tell me, well, I can't afford it, I don't have much cash. Well, with the programs out there and sellers concessions in the game, you don't need as much cash as you think to be able to afford a home. But we want to make sure those monthly payments work for you. So make sure you come, talk to the experts, and really have an honest conversation about what's next. Even if you're a year ahead and you're not sure when you want to buy, it's always a good time to talk to a lender. If anything, they're going to help you with your credit. They're going to get you in a position where you can get the best rate and really just be in a better financial position overall. So there's nothing to lose, really, to come and talk to you. Because they're kind of cool and fun to talk to. Yes, 100%. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you would want us to know?
Anything, Amber?
I don't think so. Our location, we're in Hawk Parkway, across from Walmart, so it's a pretty easy office location to get in and out of. And I guess the other thing too is just that we do get a game plan together with the borrower, and with the down payment assistance programs, we do offer credit scores down to 600, which I think is important to know too, because you don't necessarily have to be 700 above to purchase a home. There's quite a few options there.
Yeah. And as you start to, the communication, I can attest to that. I love working with you ladies because I always know where my buyer is at. So if I see a house and my buyer is like, I want to look at it, I text you ladies and I'm just like, okay, we're looking at this one. What do you think? Yep, they're good. Or, hey, you need to have this conversation. And I love your guidance on my end as well.
Sure.
And it's so appreciated and really valued in my industry. So I really appreciate you.
Great.
Ladies.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much.
So look for these articles coming up in Montrose Living, but also Amber and I have a surprise for you guys. And Lynn, hopefully you'll be there too. But we're talking about education. This is really close to my heart and it's important to us. As you've heard this word probably 100 times through this interview, we want to educate you, and we're going to have on April 19th, we're inviting you over to Montrose Association of Realtors for a free lunch, and you can come and learn about first-time home buyer programs such as the examples that we gave you today. So noon, April 19th on Merchant Drive, Montrose Association of Realtors, and we'd love to have you and educate you about what to do next.
Great.
Well, thank you, ladies. I look forward to it. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, that sounds great.
Thank you, guys. And next week, we're going to have Jill Downs from Elite Dog Walking. She is amazing and doing walk with Millie Mae, her great dog, and really changing the world of your dog who might, I didn't know this, but be depressed because they don't go out and run. So if they're at home all day and they're not going out, they can be depressed, they can have overweight issues, and we'll talk all about this next week on Thursday at 4 on Real Talk with Delphine.